Welcome to Bite Size Green. I'm your host, Angelina Le Grix. Today we're going to be talking about solar cooking with Michael Mora from the Solar Cookers International.
It's a real pleasure to be here to be able to introduce the basic concepts of solar cooking to people who may never have heard of it or believed in it before. This particular solar cooker, which is one of the most basic types, is made out of cardboard. And what's a nice feature of it is that it folds up into a nice flat package like this. And it's a design which is easily replicated. In fact, you can get it off of Solar Cooker International's website. And it's been replicated tens of thousands of times in the developing world for many of our clients and NGOs. This next solar cooker, it's got a window to let the sunlight into the solar cooker chamber. And that's the cooking chamber where this pot would, or whatever you're cooking in, would fit inside it. This particular cooker, by the way, will easily get up to 350 degrees.
That's amazing.
I bake cookies in it all the time. I bake breads, all sorts of things. Here's another cooker. Again, the same set of principles. We have a reflector for concentrating the sun's rays. We have a black pot that you put your food in here. It heats up in the sun. The sun's rays coming from the reflector and directly from the sun go through the glass bowl, which traps the heat. And here's a glass cover which further traps the heat. So those are, again, the three elements: a black object, a reflector, and some way to create that greenhouse effect to trap that heat.
Let's talk about some of the more serious work that Solar Cookers International is doing in the developing countries. There are a myriad of very important issues.
Right, and one of the main environmental issues with solar cookers is addressing the issue of deforestation and environmental degradation. So, for example, around some of the refugee camps in Darfur and East Africa and other places, we are seeing an ever-widening gyre of environmental destruction, the almost complete elimination of any useful wood resources. So also, too...
And that's from people using the wood for fuel.
Right. Typically, it's women and young girls and children who have to walk maybe several miles a day to find usable wood to cook with, going further and further away from camp.
So you're addressing very serious safety issues, too.
Very serious personal safety issues.
And there are some health aspects that solar cookers help with.
Right. Typically, the traditional cooking fires in very many parts of the developing world are open fires. So all of the smoke goes into the living space. Children near an open fire sometimes will stumble over them or into them and get burnt. There are respiratory problems, serious respiratory problems.
So this is literally life-saving technology.
Absolutely. And a wonderful thing about a solar cooker is that it also gives the user time so that instead of spending those hours per day searching for firewood, then suddenly a mother, her kids have time for personal care, for education.
There are also financial advantages for folks in the developing countries.
Yes, instead of, the main one, of course, is getting your time back, but the other one is that very often, if people don't have access to a woodlot, even walking miles to get it, will have to buy charcoal from the charcoal sellers.
It sounds like the cost of fuel is actually a significant amount of their income.
Yes. Oh, yes, definitely. In fact, in some cases, in some countries now, it's as much as 50% of family income.
Oh, my goodness.
It's crushing.
I wanted to also talk about the water purification
Yes.
that you can do in the solar cookers.
For pasteurization purposes, for example, when we pasteurize milk, when it's commercially pasteurized, it's brought up to about 149 degrees. We can get rid of about 95% of the disease-causing pathogens by bringing water up to about 150, 160 degrees Fahrenheit. We have a device that's called the Water Pasteurization Indicator, or WAPI for short. And you'll notice at this end of it, there's a little white plug of soy wax. It's designed to melt at 160 degrees. So at the end of the day, if you have this in your pot of water, at the end of the day you would come back and you would find this plug of wax at the bottom of this little glass envelope. And that would tell you that the water actually reached those pasteurization temperatures. And it has a little string here so you can flip it over for the next day's use.
And you can reuse it. That's fantastic.
It's 100% reusable.
Now, I'm thinking that something so simple and accessible could be really useful in my disaster kit.
Definitely.
Thank you very much, Michael. It's been so interesting, and I've learned a lot from you.
Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Bite Size Green. I'm Angelina Le Grix. Happy solar cooking. See you next time.